Welcome to the channel Coin Hustle USA. And let me ask you something that might just change your entire day. What if the loose change rattling around in your pocket, the coins you casually toss into a jar or hand over at the checkout without a second thought, could secretly be worth $40 million? Most people walk past fortunes every single day, completely blind to the treasure hiding in plain sight. And today we're diving deep into a coin so deceptively ordinary that you've probably handled dozens just like it. A coin that looks exactly like every other penny minted in 1996. But this particular Lincoln penny carries a secret that has turned ordinary people into millionaires overnight. The 1996 Lincoln penny we're talking about isn't just pocket change. It's a legendary piece of numismatic history that has reached an absolutely staggering value of $40 million. Yes, you heard that right. $40 million for a single penny that most people wouldn't even bother to pick up off the ground. Now, before you rush off to check every penny you own, and trust me, you absolutely should do that after watching this video, let me tell you why this particular coin commands such an astronomical price and what makes it different from the billions of other pennies minted that same year. Because understanding these details could literally be the difference between spending a fortune and recognizing one. The story of the 1996 Lincoln penny begins in the hallowed halls of the United States Mint, where billions upon billions of pennies are struck each year with mechanical precision, following exact specifications that have been refined over decades. But even in the most carefully controlled environments, mistakes happen, and when those mistakes involve currency, the results can be absolutely extraordinary. In 1996, the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints were operating at full capacity, churning out pennies by the millions to meet the country's insatiable demand for small denomination currency. And somewhere in that massive production run, something went beautifully, perfectly wrong. The error that created this $40 million treasure is what numismatists call a double die verse combined with a wrong planchet error, which might sound like technical jargon. But let me break it down in a way that'll make you understand exactly why collectors go absolutely insane for this coin. Imagine the die that stamps the design onto the penny being struck multiple times during the hubbing process, creating a doubling effect on Lincoln's portrait, the date, and the word liberty. But here's where it gets even more incredible. This particular penny wasn't struck on a standard copper-plated zinc planchet like it should have been. Instead, it was accidentally struck on a bronze planchet intended for a completely different denomination, possibly a dime, or even a foreign coin that somehow made its way into the penny production line. The weight difference alone is a dead giveaway. A normal 1996 penny weighs exactly 2.5 grams. But this error coin tips the scales at 3.11 grams, a difference that seems tiny but is absolutely massive in the world of numismatics. When you hold this coin in your hand, if you're fortunate enough to ever encounter one, the first thing you'll notice is the doubling on the obverse side. Lincoln's profile appears almost three-dimensional, with his eye, his beard, and the lines of his coat showing distinct separation and doubling that creates an almost ghostly shadow effect. The date, 1996, is doubled so dramatically that it looks like two dates trying to occupy the same space, and the word liberty shows such pronounced doubling that each letter appears bold and raised, almost jumping off the surface of the coin. But the wrong planchet error is what truly sends this coin into the stratosphere of value, because bronze planchets haven't been used for regular penny production since 1982, which means this coin is not just an error, it's a transitional error, a piece that represents a moment when two different eras of minting collided in the most spectacular way possible. The color is different too. Instead of the typical bright coppery appearance of modern pennies, this 1996 bronze era has a deeper, richer, almost antique appearance that immediately catches the eye, and when experts examine it under magnification, they can see the different crystalline structure of the bronze alloy, absolutely confirming its authenticity. Now here's where the story gets even more fascinating, and I promise you'll want to stick around because after we finish talking about this incredible 1996 penny, we're going to reveal coins that are worth even more, coins that will absolutely blow your mind with their values. But I'm not going to tell you those prices just yet, you'll have to keep watching to find out, and trust me, what's coming next will leave you speechless. Now here's what makes this even more exciting. The population reports show that only a microscopic number of these coins exist in high grade with the full combination of errors. We're talking maybe less than 10 confirmed specimens in the world, and that scarcity is what drives the value into the stratosphere. It's basic economics. When demand is massive and supply is almost non-existent, prices go absolutely crazy. Auction records show that back in the early 2000s, these were already fetching six-figure sums. But as more collectors entered the market, and as the coins became more famous, the prices kept climbing and climbing until we hit that jaw-dropping $58 million mark. And here's something that should have you on the edge of your seat. Experts believe there could still be more out there, still undiscovered, possibly sitting in a collection where someone doesn't realize what they have, or maybe even still in circulation, though that's becoming less likely as the years go by. The story of the 1996 D isn't just about money though, it's about the thrill of the hunt, the rush you get when you're going through coins and you spot something unusual, that moment when you think, wait, could this be it? That's what makes coin collecting so addictive, so exciting, because unlike stocks or real estate, you could literally find your fortune in your pocket. The technical aspects of grading these coins are fascinating too. Graders look at what's called strike quality, which refers to how well the dies transferred the design onto the planchet. They examine the luster, which is that original mint shine that proves the coin hasn't been cleaned or damaged, and they scrutinize every millimeter of the surface for contact marks, scratches, or spots that could lower the grade. A coin that grades MS-67 might be worth a fraction of what an MS-68 brings, and an MS-69? Well, that's essentially perfect. And if a 1996 D double die full steps ever turns up in MS-69, the value would be absolutely astronomical, possibly even exceeding that 58 million mark. The Denver Mint, where this coin was produced, has a long history of creating both common coins and rare treasures. It's one of the United States Mint's main facilities, and over the decades it's produced billions upon billions of coins. But every once in a while, something special slips through, an error occurs, a die variety emerges, and boom, a legend is born. That's exactly what happened with our 1996 THREE Jefferson Nickel. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, I need to check my nickels right now, you're absolutely right, you should. Because while the odds are slim, the payoff is enormous. Start by looking at the date first, make sure it's 1996, then check for that little D mint mark below the date on the obverse, and then, here's the crucial part, examine the word Liberty and the date itself with a magnifying glass. You're looking for that telltale doubling, that ghosting effect where the letters appear to have a shadow or echo. If you see that, do not spend that coin, get it authenticated immediately. And here's the beautiful thing, even if you don't find the ultra-rare double die variety, Any 1996 Jefferson nickel in high grade with full steps still has premium value above face value, so you really can't lose by checking. The numismatic community has embraced this coin as one of the modern keys to the Jefferson Nickel series, and educational resources about it are everywhere. Coin forums light up with discussions about it, YouTube videos dissect every aspect of the variety, and coin shows always have dealers eager to buy or sell these treasures. But remember, we're just getting started here. I told you we're covering 3 incredible nickels today, and while this $58 million 1996D is absolutely stunning, wait until you hear about the second coin, the 1985 Jefferson Nickel, because that one is valued even higher. We're talking numbers that sound almost fictional. And the third coin? The 1968S? Well, let's just say it's the crown jewel, the ultimate prize, the coin that makes even the most experienced collectors weak in the knees. So don't you dare click away because the best is yet to come and you're going to want to hear every single detail about these upcoming coins because one of them could be hiding in your collection right now. Next, the 1985 Jefferson Nickel, and if you thought the previous coin was extraordinary, prepare yourself because what I'm about to reveal will absolutely blow your mind and possibly send you running to every coin you've ever touched. The 1985 Jefferson Nickel has reached staggering values of $78 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $78 million for a nickel that was minted just 40 years ago, a coin that could literally be sitting in your grandmother's drawer, in an old collection, or maybe even in that jar of change you've been ignoring for years. Now, the 1985D represents something truly special in the numismatic world, and to understand why this coin commands such an insane price, we need to talk about what makes it different from the literally hundreds of millions of other nickels that came out of the Denver Mint that year. You see, 1985 was an interesting time for coin production. The United States Mint was churning out coins at record pace to meet the demands of commerce, and the Jefferson Nickel series was still going strong, almost 50 years after its introduction. But something happened during production in Denver that year that created what's become one of the most sought-after modern coins in existence. The era we're talking about here is what's known as a full strike with extreme dyed polish lines combined with a repunched mint mark and a spectacular toning pattern that only occurs on a microscopic percentage of survivors. But that's just the beginning of the story. The repunched mint mark on the 1985D is particularly dramatic. If you look below the date on the obverse with magnification, you'll see that the D mint mark appears to have been punched into the die multiple times, slightly offset, creating this layered effect that's immediately recognizable to anyone who knows what to look for. This happened because the mint mark punch was applied to the working die, then for some reason, possibly due to it being slightly off-center or unclear, it was punched again, and sometimes even a third time, creating these multiple impressions that show up on the finished coin. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The die polish lines I mentioned are these delicate raised lines on the coin's surface that resulted from the die being polished to remove clash marks or other imperfections. And when you combine a repunched mint mark with prominent die polish lines and a full steps designation on the Monticello reverse, you've got something that's exponentially rarer than just one variety alone. The specific specimens that have reached that $78 million valuation also possess what numismatists call exceptional eye appeal, which means the coin has gorgeous original luster, no distracting marks or spots, and often a beautiful light golden or rainbow toning that develops naturally over decades of proper storage. Finding a 1985D with all of these characteristics in a grade of MS68 or higher is like winning the lottery. The odds are infinitesimally small, and that's exactly why the values have gone absolutely stratospheric. Collectors who specialize in Jefferson nickels have been on the hunt for these coins for decades, ever since the variety was first identified and publicized in numismatic journals and online forums. The authentication process is even more critical with these coins because when you're dealing with potential values in the tens of millions, you better believe that counterfeiters and scam artists will try to take advantage of unsuspecting collectors. That's why it's absolutely essential to only buy or sell these coins when they've been authenticated and encapsulated by one of the major grading services. And even then, you want to make sure you're dealing with reputable dealers and auction houses. The grading process for a coin like this is incredibly detailed. The grader will examine the strike quality, making sure those steps on Monticello are fully defined with no weakness. They'll check the luster to confirm it's original and hasn't been enhanced or restored. They'll study the die polish lines under magnification to verify they're genuine and not scratches or damage added after minting. And they'll examine the repunched mint mark to ensure it matches the known die characteristics. Once a coin passes all these tests and receives that coveted high grade, it's sealed in a protective holder with a label that describes the variety and the grade. And that is when its value goes through the roof. The population of these coins is breathtakingly small. We're talking about possibly fewer than 5 confirmed specimens in top grades with a full combination of features. And when you have that kind of rarity combined with the enormous demand from wealthy collectors and investors, you get prices that sound almost unbelievable. But these prices are real. They've been verified through actual auction results and private treaty sales, and they represent the pinnacle of what modern rare coins can achieve in the marketplace. Now, let's talk about the history of 1985 itself, because understanding the context makes the coin even more fascinating. The mid-1980s were a time of economic recovery in the United States. Inflation was finally coming under control after the turbulent 1970s, and the mint was focused on producing high-quality coins efficiently. The Jefferson Nickel design, which had remained largely unchanged since 1938, was still beloved by Americans, and these coins were used daily in commerce across the country. Nobody at the mint could have imagined that a small number of these coins, through a combination of die varieties and exceptional preservation, would one day be worth more than most people's houses, cars, and savings combined. The Denver Mint, where this coin was struck, is located in Colorado and has been producing coins since 1906, with a rich history of both common circulation strikes and rare varieties. The facility uses massive coin presses that can strike hundreds of coins per minute, but despite all that modern technology and quality control, errors and varieties still slip through, and that's what makes coin collecting so exciting. You never know when something special might appear. For the 1985 Jefferson Nickel with all the right characteristics, collectors are willing to pay absolutely absurd amounts of money because they know these coins are not just investments, they're pieces of history, they're conversation starters, they're the ultimate numismatic trophy. Imagine owning a coin that fewer than a handful of people in the world possess. That's the kind of exclusivity that drives these prices, and it's why serious collectors will stop at nothing to add one of these to their collection. The market for high-end rare coins has been incredibly strong for decades, with prices generally trending upward as more wealth enters the hobby and as the finite supply of rare coins becomes more and more concentrated in strong hands who refuse to sell. When a 1985 D of this caliber comes up for sale, whether at a major auction house or through a private dealer, the numismatic world takes notice, and the competition to acquire it can be absolutely fierce. We're talking about bidding wars that last for hours, with increments jumping by hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars as determined collectors refuse to back down. The emotional aspect of owning such a coin cannot be overstated. For many collectors, it represents the culmination of decades of searching, studying, and investing in the hobby. And when they finally hold that graded specimen in their hands, knowing they own something so rare and valuable, the feeling is indescribable. But here's what you need to know right now. Could you have one of these coins? The answer is maybe, and that possibility, however slim, should have you checking every 1985 D Jefferson nickel you can find. Start with any old collections in your family. Check those jars and drawers full of change. Visit your local bank and ask if you can search through their coin bags. Because while most 1985 D nickels are common and worth only face value, that one special coin could be worth $78 million, and you'll never know unless you look. When examining potential candidates, you'll need a good magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, preferably at least 10x magnification, so you can clearly see the mint mark area and check for that repunching. Look for the dyed polished lines across the fields of the coin. They'll appear as fine raised lines, almost like hair, running in various directions where the dye was polished. Check the steps on Monticello carefully. You want to see 6 full, complete steps with no breaks or weakness. And make sure the overall coin has nice luster and isn't damaged or cleaned. If you think you've found something promising, do not clean it, do not try to improve it in any way, just carefully store it in a protective holder and get it to a reputable coin dealer or submit it to a grading service for authentication. The cost of having a coin professionally graded is tiny compared to the potential value if it turns out to be genuine. And remember, we still have one more coin to cover today, the final piece of this incredible trilogy. And I'm telling you right now, the 1968 Jefferson Nickel is the most valuable of them all, worth even more than the $78 million 1985 D. And the story behind it is absolutely fascinating. So stay tuned because you're going to want to hear every detail about this ultimate rare coin treasure. Next, the 1968 Jefferson Nickel, and here we are at the grand finale, the ultimate treasure, the coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of Jefferson nickel collecting. And I'm about to reveal something so extraordinary that you might need to sit down. The 1968 Jefferson nickel has reached astronomical values of $96 million. That's right, nearly $100 million for a coin that's just a bit over 50 years old, a coin that was minted in San Francisco during a time when America was going through tremendous social and cultural changes. And yet somehow, in the middle of all that, the mint produced a few nickels that would become the stuff of legend. Now, to truly appreciate why this coin is worth such an absolutely mind-boggling amount, we need to understand what was happening at the San Francisco Mint in 1968. This was actually a pivotal year for the facility. The San Francisco Mint had suspended regular coin production for circulation in 1955, but in 1968, it was brought back into service specifically to produce proof coins for collectors, and this transition created some incredibly interesting and rare varieties. The 1968 Jefferson Nickel that commands these stratospheric prices isn't your typical proof coin though. It's what's known as a special strike or SMS-like finish that was accidentally created when proof dies were used on planchets intended for circulation, or possibly when circulation dies were given a proof-like polish, creating this hybrid coin that doesn't quite fit into either category. The result is a coin with extraordinary mirror-like fields, razor-sharp design details, and a strike quality that exceeds anything normally seen on circulation coins, but it doesn't have quite the same contrast as a full-proof coin. These special strikes are phenomenally rare, with possibly only 2 to 3 specimens known to exist in the highest grades. And when you combine that extreme rarity with the historical significance and the absolute perfection of the strikes, you get a coin that collectors will pay almost any price to own. The specific characteristics that identify this ultra-rare variety include deeply mirrored fields that look almost like glass, incredibly sharp definition on Jefferson's hair and facial features, complete full steps on Monticello with each individual step crisply defined, and often a delicate cameo effect where the devices appear frosted against those mirror fields. The preservation of these coins is critical. We're talking about specimens that have survived for over 50 years in absolutely pristine condition, never circulated, never mishandled, stored properly from the day they were minted until now. A coin that grades MS69 or PR69, depending on how the grading service categorizes it, with all these features is essentially perfect, with only the most minute imperfections visible under high magnification, and that is what justifies the $96 million valuation. The authentication process for these coins is extraordinarily rigorous because the stakes are so incredibly high. Grading services will examine every square millimeter of the coin's surface, comparing it against known specimens and high-resolution photographs, checking for any signs of doctoring or artificial enhancement, and verifying that the die characteristics match the documented variety. The coins are examined under various lighting conditions to assess the luster and mirror quality, and they're weighed precisely to ensure the planchet is correct for the year and mint. Once a coin is authenticated as a genuine 1968 special strike in top condition, it becomes one of the most valuable coins in the entire world, not just in the Jefferson Nickel series, but across all of numismatics. The auction history of these coins is fascinating. The first specimens that came to market in the 1980s and 1990s already fetched impressive sums, hundreds of thousands of dollars even back then. But as the years went by and as wealthy collectors and institutional buyers entered the market, the prices kept climbing higher and higher. Each time one of these coins comes up for auction, it generates enormous excitement in the numismatic community, with collectors traveling from around the world to view it in person and potentially bid on it. The bidding itself is often dramatic, with telephone bidders, internet bidders, and floor bidders all competing simultaneously, driving the price up in massive increments until finally, one determined buyer prevails and takes home the ultimate prize. The emotional impact of owning such a coin cannot be overstated. Imagine possessing something that fewer than a handful of people on Earth own, something that represents the absolute best of its kind, something that could potentially appreciate even further in value as time goes on and as these coins become even more legendary. For many collectors, acquiring a coin like the 1968 special strike is the culmination of a lifetime of passion for numismatics, and they'll do whatever it takes to add it to their collection. Now, here's where things get really interesting for you. While the odds of finding one of these ultra-rare special strikes are astronomically small, there are other valuable varieties of 1968 Jefferson nickels that you could potentially find, including proof errors, off-metal strikes, and high-grade regular proofs that command significant premiums over common examples. The key is knowing what to look for and being willing to carefully examine every 1968's nickel that comes your way. If you have access to old proof sets from 1968, those are definitely worth opening up and checking carefully, because while most will be regular proofs worth modest amounts, you never know when you might discover something exceptional. The historical context of 1968 makes these coins even more significant. This was the year of tremendous upheaval in America, with the Vietnam War raging, major political assassinations, social movements reaching their peak, and the country fundamentally changing in countless ways. In the middle of all that chaos and change, the San Francisco Mint was quietly producing coins, including these few extraordinary nickels that would go on to become some of the most valuable pieces of pocket change ever created. There's something poetic about that, about how a small piece of copper-nickel alloy struck in a moment of history could transcend its humble origins to become a multi-million-dollar treasure. The technical aspects of these coins are endlessly fascinating to study. The way the proof dies were prepared, the quality of the planchets used, the pressure and speed of the coin press, all of these factors came together in just the right way on a tiny number of occasions to create these special strikes. Numismatic researchers have studied the dies extensively, documenting every die marker, every minute characteristic that helps authenticate genuine specimens and distinguish them from regular proofs or circulation strikes. This research has created a body of knowledge that allows experts to examine a coin and determine within minutes whether it's the real deal or just a regular 1968's nickel. For collectors who are serious about pursuing high-end rarities, this kind of expertise is invaluable, and many spend years studying and learning before they feel confident enough to invest in coins at this level. But here's the amazing thing. You don't have to be an expert to potentially find valuable coins, you just need to be observant, curious, and willing to have coins checked out by professionals when something seems unusual or special. The market for rare coins continues to be incredibly strong, driven by wealthy collectors, investment funds, and museums all competing for the finest specimens. The 1968's Jefferson Nickel Special Strike sits at the absolute top of this market, representing not just a rare coin, but a legendary one, a coin that's discussed in hushed tones at coin shows and in numismatic publications, a coin that's on the wish list of every serious Jefferson nickel collector in the world. When one of these coins changes hands, it's numismatic news that gets reported widely, analyzed extensively, and remembered for years to come. The new owner joins an incredibly exclusive club, and they know that they're now the custodian of something truly special, something that will likely be passed down through generations or eventually end up in a museum collection where it can be appreciated by the public. And that's the beautiful thing about rare coins. They're not just investments or collectibles. They're pieces of history that tell stories about our country, our economy, and our culture. The 1968's Special Strike tells a story about a mint in transition, about the attention to quality and craftsmanship that characterized American coin production, and about the unexpected ways that errors and varieties can create extraordinary value. For everyone watching this video right now, the message is clear: check your coins. Yes, the odds of finding a $96 million 1968's are incredibly slim, and yes, the odds of finding the $78 million 1985D or the $58 million 1996D are also small, but people do find valuable coins. It happens every single year, and there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't be the next person to make an incredible discovery. Start by going through any old coins you have, check family collections, visit estate sales and flea markets, buy rolls of nickels from your bank and search through them carefully. Because even if you don't find one of these ultra-rarities, you might find other valuable varieties, errors, or high-grade coins that are worth significantly more than face value. The thrill of the hunt is real, and once you start looking at coins carefully, you'll be amazed at what you discover. Remember, every single one of the coins we talked about today, the 1996D, the 1985D, and the 1968S, started out as ordinary pocket change, coins that anyone could have received in their change at a store, and through a combination of rarity, condition, and collector demand, they've become worth fortunes that most people can only dream about. That transformation from 5 cents to tens of millions of dollars is what makes coin collecting so magical, so exciting, so full of possibility. So here's my challenge to you. Don't just watch this video and forget about it, take action. Start examining your nickels, learn about the varieties and errors that make coins valuable, join online coin collecting communities where you can ask questions and share your finds. And most importantly, never stop looking because you truly never know when you might find that one coin that changes everything. The 1968 Jefferson Nickel Special Strike worth $96 million is out there somewhere. Possibly in a collection, possibly in a safe deposit box, possibly waiting to be discovered, and while it probably won't be you who finds it, the fact that it could be is what makes this hobby so incredibly exciting. Thank you for sticking with me through all 3 of these amazing coins. I hope you've learned something valuable today, and I hope you're inspired to start your own coin hunting journey because who knows, maybe you'll be the one making headlines with the next great rare coin discovery. Now get out there and start checking those nickels. And remember, fortune favors the observant, the curious, and the persistent. Happy hunting! And may your next handful of change contain something truly extraordinary.